Good morning. Started just a little bit early just to make sure things are working properly. So bear with me. There we go. Going to give it a few more minutes so people actually can get here since we have a scheduled start at 10. Started just a little bit early just to And just a reminder, this is for VirtualPBX admin training. If you're a vConsole customer or looking for the vConsole trainings, we no longer do live trainings for that platform. However, you can find the recorded trainings on our website. So just go to virtualpbx.com, mouse over support, and select vConsole support. You want to scroll down about a third of the way down, and you'll see some videos along the top. And should be the advanced admin training link there. Will take you to the full vConsole training. As far as Dash goes, we do have a recorded training on the website, and as well as on YouTube, we have the previous trainings available, so you can view them at any time. So if you need to drop off early today, for example, you can come back and find this recording later, or even look at one of the previous ones. And we'll give it just another minute here before we really jump in. All right. All right, so on the screen you should be seeing the login page, dash.virtualpbx.com. Your username is going to be your email address. If you're the one who signed up for the account, it will be your email address. Otherwise, if it's someone else set the account up for you, it's whatever email address they used for your user. Password should have been emailed to you. You can always click on Forgot Password here to the bottom right, or Forgot Info, excuse me. And then the account name is typically your company name. Now, if you're an individual setting up your own account, it could be just your name. You will want to pay attention to capitalization and any kind of punctuation you have in the company name, especially. Also, for the username, on some browsers, the first time you log in, your browser may capitalize the first letter of the username, and you want to make sure you change that to a lowercase letter, as otherwise that will cause an error. But once you have all that, you can also click on the Remember Me here. We'll go ahead and get signed in. All right, and here's on our dashboard. Now, if you're a new account, actually what you will see first is this information. So basically your user information. You can change your time zone, clicking on the little gear icon here. You can change your date format, etc. And you also have your account information that you can get to as well, and this is where you can get your account realm, which you could use for faxing or for setting up third-party VoIP phones. Now, on a live account, because this is a test account, you would have another section here that would have your billing information and your plan information. So you can see what kind of plan you're on, you can look at your invoices, you can update your credit card. And there'll be a little wizard pop-up for new accounts, telling you what these things are. When you're done with the wizard, you would click Close here, and then you'll be on the dashboard page. All right, so here in the middle here is your total users, so basically the number of people who are making and receiving calls on your account. Depending on your plan, the more users you have, the more your bill could be. So that's something to be aware of. Down here we've got total devices and then the breakdown of the devices. Softphone is an application that runs on either a computer or, say, a cell phone or a tablet. Cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. Web phone is a specialized version of a softphone. It works with both Chrome and Firefox, so on your desktop computer or laptop computers, and allows you to make and receive calls from those browsers. SIP phone, that's Sierra Indigo Papa, like a sip of water. That's a particular type of VoIP phone. Right, so it's a physical phone, sits on your desk. You plug it into your network to get on the internet. You make and receive calls from it. And then you have landline. You can have an ATA, which is an ATA adapter, which basically allows you to convert an analog line or analog phone to work on your network. These days, that's mostly used with fax machines. Let's see. Then we have the breakdown of total phone numbers. Oh, sorry. Unregistered devices, notice that big red number here. So that's for the VoIP devices. So your soft phone, your web phone, and the SIP phones. Basically, when you have unregistered, that means the system says, hey, these phones are not connected, so we can't send and receive calls from those devices. Right? Basically means you should probably check. For a normal account, that would be, hey, what's going on with those phones? You might want to check the phones, your network, etc. Total numbers, these are the number of phone numbers on this account. And then we have it broken down by, first, by assigned and spare numbers. So an assigned number means it's a number that works, right? It's going someplace. So it could be one of your main numbers. It could be your fax box number. It could be a number that you have going directly to a user, or a number that goes directly to a ring group or to an ACD queue. It can also be your conference bridge number. A spare number is a number on your account that you're not actively using, so i.e. it doesn't ring anywhere. You would still be billed for it if you're over your account allocation, right? So each plan that we have has a certain number of phone numbers included in the plan, anywhere from 1 to I think 15 or something like that. I haven't checked the latest plans, right? But once you go over that, then you would be charged an additional fee per number. The base amount, I believe, is $4.99 per number. The other breakdown we have here below is the USDID versus US toll-free. Right, US toll-free number 800-888-877-866, etc. USDID, that just means a US local number, right? So a number particular to Chicago or to Amarillo, Texas, or wherever. You could also have a section for international phone numbers. If you're interested in getting international phone numbers, you will need to contact our porting department, porting at VirtualPBX.com, or you can just and basically say, hey, I need a phone number in this city, in this particular country. The porting team will let you know, A, if it's available, and if we need any additional documentation. All right. So some countries require proof of presence, meaning like a phone bill or utility bill. Some are much more stringent. They want proof of incorporation, what have you. So like Germany tends to be a little bit stricter than, say, I think the UK is relatively lax in comparison. And that can change from time to time. There is normally an acquisition fee for an international number. That can vary depending on the country. So again, our porting team would let you know what that would be. And in some cases, the monthly cost per or international number may be higher than a typical U.S. number. All right, conference bridges, just let you know how many conference bridges you have active on the account. That's not the number of conference phone numbers, right? So basically, it's the number of users you've enabled conferencing on. That's what that's telling you. Over here towards the top right, we've got your main numbers. So a couple in the Vegas area, 323 I believe is LA, and a toll-free number. Right, so all these numbers behave the same way. All right, so calls will come in, they'll have the same initial routing, they'll have the same main greeting. Down below that, we've got your conference bridge numbers, 669s in the Bay Area, and 866, another toll-free. So these are numbers anyone can call in to enter into a conference. Now, they have to have a conference room number to get to, and then hopefully there's someone there. So generally speaking, your users would email whoever they're inviting to a conference with use this phone number, use this conference room number, and then if they're making a PIN, and the PIN number to get in. Fax box number. This is again a Bay Area phone number. So this is a number that that's going to be receiving faxes. So inbound faxing. Right, company directory, number of users, 23, that happens to match. It doesn't have to. You don't have to have all your users in the company directory. And then you have this option here to download, so then you can distribute it among your staff. Okay. Up here is your caller ID. So this would be the default number for making outbound calls that your VoIP phones will use. Right. And this would have a normally, the pull-down will show all your phone numbers here. Hold music. So on Dash, what hold music is basically after an inbound caller has reached someone, right, one of your users picking up, talking to the customers, hey, let me put you on hold. They press hold on their phone. This is the default music that would play. You can upload your own file. It needs to be in either .wav, .wav, or .mp3. Needs to be recorded in mono, and it needs to be under 1 megabyte in size. The reason it needs to be recorded in mono is because when you listen to it over the phone, you have one speaker, so it's mono. If you upload a stereo file, so like if you record on your computer by default, it typically records it in stereo, because computers are typically stereo devices. And then you upload it to Dash, and then you try to listen over the phone, you'll hear either a lot of static, and you might be able to hear part of your message or your hold music, or you'll just hear silence. So if you have one of those two things happen, you know, oh, I need to get rid of or make it in mono, or you just use like an audio program to strip out one of the sections. You can click on the upload button here, find the file on your computer, and then click on this little blue and white up arrow icon to upload your file. And then you would click on Save Changes. And then we'll go to Hours, which is under the main number. All right, so by default, a new account is going to be set to 24-hour open office, basically meaning, hey, you're ready to take calls. Most of our customers end up changing it to custom office hours. And so for each day of the week that they're open, they put a check mark in front of it, like so. And then in the box to the right, they select their open hours. This is in 24-hour or military time. So in this case, I'm open from 9 to 5. And you can have different hours for each day. It doesn't really matter. You have an option down here at the very bottom. If your whole facility is closed for lunch, right? Everyone goes lunch at the same time, basically. You can put a check mark there and then include what your lunch hours are. Actually, let's go up here to main numbers real quick. So up here, these are all your numbers. You can click on a gear icon. So you can adjust the caller ID. And so first thing is the outbound caller ID name. This is 15 characters, including spaces or special characters. Once you click on the Save Changes here, this gets transmitted to the other carriers and their servers that support CNAME. So, one, not every carrier supports CNAME, which means a call can route through one of those carriers that doesn't support it, and your CNAME information doesn't get sent to your destination. One thing to keep aware of. After we hit that Save Changes, it takes about 3 business days for all of those various servers to get updated. So something to bear in mind. Also, even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's not their priority, right? Carriers in general, their main concern, connect and call. So if they have heavier than expected call volume, so say in the U.S., upcoming election season, especially election day, you're probably going to have a lot of call volume. Your caller ID information, your caller ID name information probably won't go through. Right? Obviously, if they're having a maintenance issue or an actual outage, you're probably more concerned about getting the call to go through. E911, this would be the, here, let me click on that so it actually pops up. You would enter in an address here. Now this, on your main numbers, this would be your company's like headquarters address, right? So this would be the default address that VoIP phones use for if a user picks up their VoIP phone and dials 911. This includes the soft phone or the web phone as well. Now you can set that per device or / per user, so that way if people are working remotely, which is probably the case, then you can have the individual addresses. And then you can also do a prepend on your phone numbers. Now, prepend only works with VoIP phones, right? So soft phone, web phone, or physical VoIP phone. And what prepend allows you to do, you can put additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID information that shows up on the phone, and just let your staff know what the call is about. Right? So if you have a special number for a special promotion, then you know, oh, it's about this. All right, let's go to office holidays. So if you're closed for holidays, you put a check mark here, and then you can add holidays over here on the right, single day. So for in the U.S., like Memorial Day is coming up. So you can do, it's going to let me type it in or not? Yes. Unfortunately, it's not, the pull downs aren't working on this streaming software interface. But you can select the date, and go ahead and get rid of that you want it to show up. And then automatically the system will know when that date turns around and go, oh, you're in holiday mode. You don't have to do anything else other than make sure your holiday menu is set up, which we'll get to shortly. You can also do a date range, i.e. multiple days. Thanksgiving, for example. The main caveat for date range is you do not want a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because there's no year indicator here, so the system would see that and just put you in closed mode or holiday mode all year. Advanced, which I don't, oops. Do I have an advanced? I do not have an advanced one set up. I don't know if it'll let me. Well, you get an example here. So you can set it up so on a first, in this case, well, the default here, first Monday of January, we're automatically in holiday mode, right? So you can say like the second Tuesday of March, we're in holiday mode. That sort of thing. And then you would click on Save Changes. Now the big one, incoming call handling. So this is basically how your main numbers are handling calls. First thing to keep in mind is you got these tabs right here across the top. So your open hours, typically everyone's focus. Because we said we're closed for lunch, you have a lunch hours menu, or set of options. You have your after hours, so your normal closed options, and then holiday. So when holiday mode kicks in, what do you want it to do? Now you notice that all of these have the same basic options. So this first one here, call comes in from on your main numbers to the virtual receptionist. If you click on virtual receptionist, boom, you get a new window here. On the left, this is your main menu. This is what people dial on their phones to navigate through your phone system. All right, and then on the right, we've got your greeting options. So you can add multiple numbers, although again, the pull downs aren't working, or at least not consistently. But then you can also select where calls are going. So you can have it go to a person, you have it go to a ring group, you can have it go to ACD queue if you're making use of queues. You can have it go to a specific phone. You can have it play a media file. And you can have it go to a voicemail box. Then over here on your greeting types, first one is text-to-speech. You type it in, you click update, and then you click save, and then save changes. It'll be ready to go. You can upload your own file. Just find the file on your computer. Again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. If you already have greetings selected, you can choose from the pull down. You can record over the phone. So this is by default set to go with VoIP phones. So on a new account, you pick up your VoIP phone that you've already added to the account, you call in to your main numbers, and then the system will prompt you to say, it'll say initially that there's no menu set up for this. There is no greeting set up for this menu. You would then enter in the prompt. Or actually, it will prompt you then for your PIN number. So you enter in the PIN, and then it'll walk you through recording over the phone. Now, if you already have a greeting in place and you want to record a new one over the phone, you would still call in, right? You'd hear your existing greeting play, then you enter this PIN number. Keep in mind, when you record over the phone, it's not creating a brand new greeting. Since you already have one in place, you're replacing the one that played. So when you call in, you hear greeting A that you already have in place. Then you record over the phone, greeting A gets replaced by what you just recorded. And then lastly, we have professional recording services. So we've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. If you click on the order button there, it'll take you to their site. They have something like 100 voice actors to choose from, both male and female. They have various versions of English, of Spanish, and French, so you can obviously do multilingual greetings. They also have packages that include hold music treatment, right? So you have hold music and then a script, right? Then music and then a script, that sort of thing. They handle their own billing. They deliver via email, and then you would just upload. All right, settings down here. So number of retries on this dial. Basically, how many times are you allowing your inbound caller to pick a wrong option? In this case, 1. All right, you can change it to what you want. I usually say 2 or 3 for most people. One thing to keep in mind is after that last mistry, and for this particular setup, that would end the call. Right now, so this is our default route. So if I saved it like this, after this one mistry, then they would be sent to the company directory. We typically, or at least lately, we haven't been advising to use a default route just because robodialers are still such a problem. And so basically what happens with a robodialer, they call your main number, they hear your greeting. After the mistrial, they get sent to whatever your default route is, and then they leave a junk voicemail, which is, annoying. So if you make any changes here, you click Save, and then you need to click Save Changes here, right? So you have to hit Save twice for incoming call handling. Go back. All right, second option. Call comes in. I have it go to Bob right now, but I can change it to, we're at devices, we're at queues, let's go to find a ring group. There we go, groups. All right, so what this option is, call comes in, it offers it to my ring group. Right, so ring group like a department, people who are answering calls about the same kind of topic, right? This could be like a receptionist group, for example, or operator group. So basically offers a call to those people. If they're not able to pick up the call because you have heavy call volume and everyone's on a call, then the call gets sent back to your virtual receptionist, right? Same options we just saw because we're still on incoming or open hours. So basically, again, your staff has a chance to answer the call first. Not able to, caller goes to your virtual receptionist so they can hit a menu option or an extension. Right. Option 3, call comes in. It's going to be offered to Bob. Again, you can set it to a group or a queue or what have you. Now, in this case, calls are offered for 20 seconds. That's hard-coded. We can't change that. And then we're being sent to a voicemail box for 2019 August voicemail box. You could also choose to scroll all the way down here to the bottom and to say, hey, skip the voicemail. Basically saying, hey, we're temporarily closed. Right? So can't send calls right to voicemail. Now, each one of these options, right, the virtual receptionist is different for each one. So basically nothing, only one thing set. So you can, set a change of different routes. You have different greetings, obviously. Now, if you want to record over the phone for your greetings for like your lunch hours, after hours, or holidays, you have to be in that particular mode to record that type of greeting, right? So you want to record a lunch greeting, your system needs to be in lunch hours. That's when you can call in and record over the phone, right? Usually I say it's just easier, if possible, just to record it on your computer and then upload it and then assign it to the particular time of day. So yeah, you can have different routes, options for each type of situation. But again, any changes you make, you need to make sure you save changes. All right, main conference numbers. You can unassign a number if you're not using it. So for instance, we can unassign that one. That just puts it in your spare number pile. Custom greeting, right now, this is only a text-to-speech greeting. You just type in something and then click Save. You can always add from your spare numbers or buy new numbers if you need more conference numbers. Main fax box, that's your phone number. You only get one number for your main fax box. Now, unfortunately, this is a test account, so when I click Edit here, I'll get an error. On your accounts, when you click Edit Fax Box, you'll get a dialog box with 2 fields. The first field is for an email address to say, hey, for inbound faxes, send it to this particular email address. Right? The second box is the SMT permissions box. Basically, if you have your own company domain, right? So abccleaners.com. That's your domain. Everyone at your company has an @abccleaners.com email address. You could put that in that second field, so @abccleaners.com. Anyone with that email address can send a fax out. They don't have to be a user on the account. But all the faxes would go to that one particular email address. All right, let's go over to numbers. Numbers, so it's the numbers on your account and where they're going. These red ones were for port requests that haven't completed. Spare numbers, it shows the spare numbers on the account, and this is that one I just unassigned from the conference bridge. If you want to delete a number, you just put a check, click on a box in front of it, and then click delete. It'll say you're sure. Click delete numbers. It's fortunately on the success side here, and now the number is gone from my account, so I won't be charged for it any longer. So up here, you have an option to buy numbers. You have local and toll-free. So toll-free, you just find an 800 prefix. It shows the available numbers. You click Add, click Buy Numbers, and it'll verify that the number is still available, and then activate it and add it to your account. and now it's a spare number. There are other points where you can add numbers, right, like under the conference bridge area or on your main phone numbers. You can just do that directly there, and it'll automatically assign it to that area. Port a number. So port in telecom is moving a phone number from one carrier to another, right? So from AT&T to VirtualPBX. Essentially what we need is what's called a completed letter of agency, or LOA. It does need to be signed. Now you can use a digital signature. It just can't be typed all the way out. It's just the signature itself needs to look like a signature. The information on the LOA should match what your current carrier has on file for you. Right? So if, for instance, with AT&T, you are XYZ Cleaners, then that's the company that should show up on the LOA, even though with VirtualPBX, you're ABC Cleaners. But like the address they have on file should match, should be what's on their bill, typically speaking. Whoever signs for it should be the authorized user on their account. If you're moving a mobile phone number, right, so your cell phone number, to VirtualPBX, a couple of things to keep in mind. One, you are probably going to need to contact your mobile carrier to get an account PIN number. It's usually 4 digits. This is not something you use to log in with them or anything. It's something to release the number. It's basically a security feature for mobile numbers. And probably the most important thing to keep in mind is once that number ports, the number on the cell phone, basically your cell phone won't work at that point when the number ports away, because unless you get another number from your carrier, your cell phone provider. So keep that in mind. The other thing we are going to need would be a copy of your bill. Both of those need to go to our porting department. Now, through this portal, this will walk you through the steps of uploading the documents. You can download a blank LOA, for example, and then upload a completed one. You can upload your copy of your bill. And then this will send it to our porting team automatically. If, for whatever reason, this isn't working for you, or you just don't feel like dealing with it, you just want to send an email, you can just send an email to porting@virtualpbx.com, but we still need those 2 documents. But either way, we'll handle the port request. All right, users, these are all the users on the account. The gray person here, that means they're just a standard user. Person with a blue suit, they're an admin on the account, so they can do everything we're doing here. So you got their names, you have their extension, a phone number if they have one, so basically number goes directly to them, their devices, and then their features, and then adding users up here. You put their name, first and last name, their email address, which is going to be their login. Each one has to be unique. Right? So if you've got 5 people using support@virtualpbx.com and you want to each have them have a user, they cannot all have support@virtualpbx.com be their login or their username here. Right? You could use support1@virtualpbx.com because the system doesn't care if it's a legit email address or not. But the reason that would be bad is password recovery, right? And they may not always, and you'd have to make an extra email address for getting voicemails. You would type in a password, and then you give an extension number. Now, on this account, I started off with extension 1000, which is the default for Dash, but I could change this to be, 2323 if I wanted to, or whatever else. And I could start off with extension 2000 or 8000 or what have you. All right. By default, the system will create a voicemail box for every new user that's intrinsically tied to the user. So like when you add a wait phone to it, the message light on the phone will be tied to that voicemail box, for example. Here's your option to include in the user directory. So you put a check mark to include them. And then this is the one I think should always be checked, is send credentials to the user. So that way they know their login information. And then you click on create user, or if you're adding multiple, create user and add another. All right. On a user, you can click on their name. You can change their name. You can change their credentials. You can change their voicemail box PIN. Now, If you're going to have people use VoIP phones, you do not have to enter a PIN number for the voicemail box because they'll be able to pick up their VoIP phones, hit *98. That'll take them directly to the voicemail box, and they'll be prompted to enter in a PIN number to actually create their own PIN. Now, if your users are using cell phones or landlines, then you will need to create a PIN number for them and make sure they have it. Send the email to alternate address. This is basically so voicemails get sent to an additional address. So the login email address will automatically get the voicemails that get sent. But if I want to send it to like my home email address, I could put in, my Gmail account number, email here. Right, and then again, I can remove them from the user directory from here if I want to. This is actually pulled down where there's two options, user or admin. So if you just signed up, please do not change yourself to a user. Leave yourself as an admin until at least you've added one other person as an admin. You can set your personal time zone here. Languages, you've got English, French, Russian, and I think German was recently added. Okay, ringing timeout. So by default, this is actually set to 20 seconds. However, this user has a feature called Follow Me, which means that he's got multiple devices. So it's longer, and you have to use the Follow Me feature to adjust it. One thing to keep in mind is if your users are only using a cell phone, right, that's the only device they have, you're going to want to increase that ringing timeout to at least 30 seconds, if not up to a minute. It simply takes longer for calls to route to a cell phone because every time your cell phone, your cell carrier says, "Hey, we need to send a call to this, to Bob," you have to find Bob, which means they're bouncing the call off cell towers to find you. Landlines and VoIP phones, at least hardline VoIP phones, you don't need quite as much time just because they have a fixed location. Main extension, users can have multiple extensions. And in fact, this next box is the extension box. Right, so you can add additional extensions. The main example I have is our head of sales. Whenever we lose a salesperson, he immediately takes over their extension. So that way, any incoming calls to a former sales rep, he can either handle or transfer to one of the existing sales reps. And make sure if he ever misses a call, right, he still can get to those voicemails, so we're not missing any sales opportunities. Phone numbers, again, you can add from spare, you can buy a new number. A user can have multiple phone numbers, right? And so in this case, anyone who dials a 702 number goes straight to, in this case, myself. Doesn't have to go through the virtual receptionist on this account. All right, devices. So these are all the devices on this particular user. You can add from spare devices, meaning you have a bunch already that you're not actively using at the moment. Or you can create a new device. We'll start with SIP phone. So SIP is a session interface protocol, I believe is what it stands for. So it's a particular type of VoIP phone. There are other kinds of protocols that VoIP phones use. But to work with us, it needs to be a SIP phone, and then it needs to be one of these manufacturers. And even then, it has specific models. Now, in some cases, if you have a model that's similar to one of these, right, you could try using the one closest to it and see if it'll work. It has worked in the past, doesn't always. But basically, is you select your phone, and then you give it a name, and then you enter the phone's MAC address. This is a physical, or a number on the back of the phone. It's unique to that phone. So in terms of the dashboard, that's all you need to do other than hit Save Changes. On the phone itself, it has a web-based interface, right? So you plug it into your network with a computer on that same network. You log into it. You add in a URL, which you can find the specific guide on our website. But basically what it does is like, okay, use this web URL, phone reboots, reaches out on the internet, goes to that URL, says, here's my MAC address. Our system says, oh, we know that MAC address. Here's your config file. I send the file. The phone will reboot at least once, if not a couple of times. But after the reboots, it should come up with the correct date and time, and it should be ready to use. Cell phone and landline are basically the same. You give it a name, and then you put +1 area code and phone number, and then you click Create Device. And this one here. If you click on Advanced, you've got a couple options. So this is how, at default, after you've added a device and click Save Changes, that's a cell phone or landline, how it'll look. So what happens is when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or landline, your phone will ring. You answer it. You'll hear a message, an automated message. Hey, this is a forwarded call. Please press 1. Right? By pressing 1, you're saying, yes, I'm here and ready to take the call. If you don't press 1, then you're not going to be offered the call any longer. It's going to either go to your next device or to your voicemail box. Now, if you're using cell phone in place of, say, a phone number for an automated answering service, you're going to want to do this. Put a check mark in front, allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So what this does is now when we send the call, yes, the phone will ring, but you won't get that greeting, and you won't be prompted to press 1. We hear that pickup tone, and we connect the call. All right. So in terms of to an automated answering service, that's perfect because then your automated answering service takes over, runs them through the motion, whatever menu options, etc. If you're actually using your cell phone, what that does is means if you don't pick up, but your cell phone's voicemail picks up, your inbound caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail. Some people love that. Some people hate it. Purely up to you. All right, keep a regional caller ID. Basically what this is on your phone, you'll see the actual phone number of the person calling you. If you uncheck it, instead of the person's phone number, you see whatever VirtualPBX phone number they called in on, right? So if they called the main number, it'll show up with your main number. If they called this user's particular phone number, that number will show up on the caller ID. That's a way to let you know it's a business call versus some, robo-dialer or telemarketer calling you. And then hide from contact list just basically hides it from the user directory. Softphone, first you want to read this warning message basically saying, hey, make sure you have E911 set up properly. All right, so by default, this is setting you up as a third-party softphone. What that means is you're using a cell phone application that's not from VirtualPBX, so like Xlite from Counterpath is an example. Or you couldn't find your VoIP phone in the list under SIP phones, so you're going to use these credentials to program your phone yourself. All right. So, one, give it a name. All right. The SIP username, the SIP password, which if you click on the box, it reveals the password, and then this realm. Those are the 3 pieces of information you would need to program either that application or that third-party device. Right? You can click on Create Device, and then Save Changes. The device will be on your user, and then you will then program your phone or application, and hopefully it works. Now, if you're going to use the VirtualPBX Softphone app, right? So it's available on iOS and Android. We also have desktop versions for Mac OS and Windows. The desktop versions do require a license fee, which listed is at $39.99, but it's been on sale for a while, so it might be cheaper right now. But in either one of those cases, you would click down here where it says Use Third-Party Device, and it's kind of grayed out. If you click on it, it says, oh, I'm switching you to VirtualPBX application. You give it a device name. You click on Create Device. You click on Save Changes. What happens is the system creates it for you automatically and then sends you an email, or this user an email, with, hey, you have a Softphone application ready. Here's your username and login. Now you just have to download the app. Right? So if you're just using it on your cell phone, you just go to the App Store and download it, and then you use that username and password to log in, and you're ready to go. And the main thing is for the VirtualPBX soft phones especially, you want to create it on the user since it's sending that email directly to them, right? If you create it under the devices page, it doesn't know who to send it to. So then you wasted time creating a device because it'll be hard to track down that information. All right, web phone. Get the same information about the web phone or the E911. You click close. You give it a device name, you click Create Device. Because, again, in this case, it's tied directly to this user. So once you click Create Device and Save Changes, they'll have a web phone. The web phone has its own URL. It's webphone.virtualpbx.net, I believe. Once you've added a web phone to the account, you'll have a link right up here. The web phone uses the same login information as your Dash login, right? So the email address you used for the username, the same password, and the same account realm. Just on the web phone page, you'll have a little login. Again, you can make and receive calls. You can even set your queue status on the web phone if you're making use of queues. Okay. So let's go over to features. Okay, caller ID number. This only applies to users who have their own phone number. If you enable it for them, then you select their phone number. That's the caller ID that will show up on their outbound calls, right? For anyone you don't do that with, it's going to use your main number. Call forwarding. Basically, forward calls away from the devices on the user. Typically, the failover mode is for our VoIP phone users. Off or on is for anyone, basically. Right? On just means, hey, I'm not going to be at my normal phone. Instead, send callers to this phone number, so +1 area code and phone number. Click Save. Right? So basically, call comes in, try to hit my extension. I'm not at my normal phone. It gets sent to my mobile phone. Right? Mobile phone not being a device already on my user. That's important. Now, failover mode means, hey, I'm a VoIP phone user. I'm away from my desk, or I'm at my desk, working away, and then for whatever reason, my cell phone starts ringing for a work call. I might answer the call, right? Help the customer, but then I can check my VoIP phone. Like, did the dog rip out the cable somewhere, and I didn't notice, or did I lose internet connection and not notice, what have you. So failover mode is basically VoIP phone lost connection. Our system detects that, right? Unregistered phone automatically sends calls to the device you indicate. But again, the device that you're forwarding to should not be a device on the account. Hot desking. This is a VoIP phone device or VoIP phone feature. This is an instance where you have a shared office environment where people's desks can be sitting at different desks each day, and thus at a different VoIP phone each day. So Tuesday, they roll into the office, they sit down, they're at desk number 7. They can pick up the VoIP phone, hit *11. That's to enable hot desking. The system will prompt them for the hot desk ID. I normally say just make it your extension number. It's easier to remember. Excuse me. You can decide as an admin if you want to include a PIN or not. So then the system said, hey, calls will be forwarded to this device. So the rest of the day, any calls that go to your user will ring at the phone you're sitting at. End of your day, you pick up the phone, hit *12 to turn off hot desking. Right? Wednesday, you roll into the office, and desk 7's already occupied. You're like, oh, all right. Guess I'm sitting at desk 42. Lucky me. Sit down, again, hit *11. Calls are coming to you at that particular desk. Voicemail box just means, hey, you have voicemail. Fax box. So users can have their own fax box. This is basically so they can have inbound faxing to a particular person. Typically speaking, you can use a phone number or you can create a new extension. I recommend making use of a separate phone number because most people, when they fax, they're just used to sending, go to the fax machine, hit the phone number, hit send fax, and they walk away. And depending on the eFax service they may be using, it might be the same kind of process. Just put in the phone number, send fax. If you choose to have an extension number because you don't want to pay extra for a phone number, for example, what that does is for the inbound person faxing, they have to call a main number. They have to hit the fax extension, and then they hit send fax. So that's some training of the person that you don't control about how to send a fax to this person. Conference bridge. Boom. You can enable conference bridge. Shows your fax, your conference numbers. Each user would have their own room, right? So their own conference room, and then their PIN. Now the users control their conferencing through the user portal, which we'll get to later, right? And not every user needs conferencing, right? So you can choose who has that or not. Follow me. As I mentioned earlier, this is for people with multiple devices. Anytime you add a device to a user, it's going to start off like this bottom one here, which says do not ring. And likewise, the first time you activate or anytime you reactivate Follow Me, they'll all start off with do not ring, right? But if you want the device in, you click uncheck it, then you have the little green bar. You can then check or slide to increase. You can also click distribute, so that way arrange each one of your devices in order. If you need to change the order, right, you can click and drag, click redistribute. Up here at the top right, that's your ring duration. You can change it to 60 seconds, for example, or you can change it to 5 minutes. Is that 300 seconds? That doesn't sound right. Anyhow. And likewise, okay, I'm not using this device anymore, or for right now, right, you would click redistribute. And then you click Save Changes. Music on hold, you can have your users have their own hold music. Again, .wav, .mp3, under 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. You click Enable, you find the file, or you upload the file. And click Save Changes. Customized call recording. So Dash does come with call recording. By default, it's not enabled. And even when you click on Enable, you still have to make sure you select it properly. So like here, So by default, when you first enable it on a user, this is what it looks like, right? It says it's enabled, but the account default is off. So then you need to decide when you're recording and when you're not. So inbound internal means my coworker Bob is calling me and we're talking, we're recording. Right? Inbound external means my customer is calling me and recording the call. Outbound internal means I'm calling my coworker Bob back because we need to touch base about whatever project we're working on. And then outbound external means, hey, I'm calling my customer back saying, hey, got an update on your order. It shipped out yesterday. And then Save Changes. All right, let's go over to groups. So groups, again, departments, people who answer calls, about the same kind of problems. Right? Creating a group. You give it a name, you give it an extension, and then you click and drag people over. Once you have created a group, you can always change the name. This here is dialing repeats. There's little arrows here to the right. That might be hard to see on YouTube. But basically, you can increase it or decrease it. So basically, how many times can the inbound caller ring through to the members of the group? And then you actually have the option to delete a group. If you click on members, you see who's in the group, and then here's the ring order, right? So I already clicked distribute, and it's ringing each one of these people in order for and up to a total of 120 seconds, which is default, but you can change that. And again, you can click and drag people around. Right, you can click Redistribute. These are sliders, so you can adjust it. So, for instance, you can do something like this. Right, so everybody rings all at once. Now, downside of ring groups is, say the first call comes in and Duke answers it. He's on the phone, helping a customer. Second call comes in. He's still on the phone. He's going to hear a call waiting beep, right, until one of the other staff members picks up, and then they're helping that second person. So that is one, I guess, annoying quirk of groups. And again, you can remove people here as necessary. You can also add users here if you need to add more people, right? So you have higher than expected call volume. Hey, we're going to add some more people to this group. Extension, right? They can have multiple extensions. Extensions typically for groups or for your staff members to transfer calls to another group. Groups can have their own phone numbers, so again, a call comes in, goes directly to them. Doesn't have to go through the virtual receptionist. And then group features. Okay, so call recording on a group, if it's enabled, it means all the calls coming into that group are recorded. If you disable it, that means you're not recording calls in that group at all. It does not matter if the users have recording enabled or not. This is particular calls that come into the group only. Ringback, this is essentially a music file. Hold music for your inbound caller while they're waiting for one of the staff members to pick up. Obviously, once one of your staff members pick up, no more file plays. You do want to make sure that this file is as long as your ring duration of the group, right? So default is 120 seconds, so make sure that the file is 120 seconds, because unfortunately, the system doesn't automatically loop the file. And again, you can upload your own file. .wave, .mp3, 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. The big one, in my opinion, next action. So after the dial repeats are done, no one was able to pick up, right? Your staff was busy. What do you want the system to do? Typically, it's sent to a voicemail box, but you can also send them back to the main menu. Allow call forward just basically allows your users to make use of the call forwarding feature. One thing about the call forwarding user feature, your users can set that up themselves, either from their VoIP phone or from the user portal. So if they know they're going to be away from their desk, but they still want to take the group calls, because i.e. that's how they make their money, you can allow this, and then they can make use of the call forwarding feature. And then the caller ID preprint. Again, for VoIP phone users, you can put additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on their phone, so they know what this is about. Devices shows your devices on the account. Green means the system says, hey, they're connected. Red means they're not registered. Black means it's disabled, which you can just change by doing that. You can adjust the settings by clicking on the wrench icon. And for VoIP devices, you get more. There we go. Oops. But then you can get to the information of a device. You can add devices here. Typically, this is for SIP phones or cell phone or landlines, just because, again, the soft phone, if you're adding VirtualPBX soft phones, you want to do that on the user, and the web phones, you also want to do on the user, ideally. But for in case of adding SIP phones, you're setting up a new location, your IT guy is there with all the phones, so you can just add them all up, and then when your staff gets there, they can just start picking up and using their phones. Voicemail boxes, you can see them here. The ones down here, you notice, have a name under the user. These are the ones that were created at the time the user was created, so they're tied to the user. Now, for instance, if I click here, and if I delete this voicemail box, and then I go up here and later and try to add it, I can't tie it to the user the same way. But you can always add a new voicemail box, say for one of your ring groups, for example. You put a name, you put a voicemail in a pin, and you can always come back here. Under greeting and media, for any voicemail box, you can upload a new file. You can choose one that's already selected. Right? .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. If a temporary one is selected, that's going to take precedence over the normal. Right? So like, hey, Mary's going to be out of the office for 2 weeks. We can put her away voicemail box message. When she comes back, you can go in, put this back to none, and then her normal one is back in play. Recipients, you can add additional recipients. So in the case of a voicemail box you create manually, you want to at least add one. So that way you know when those voicemails are coming in. Oops. And then options. So once you've added a voicemail greeting to a voicemail box, you can click on Already Set Up. And then the other one is Delete After Notifications. Now, voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. When you get to 100 messages, the inbound caller is going to hear this mailbox is full. Please try again later. Right, for your user, you probably have users who are very good about checking their voicemail and deleting the ones they're already done with. You might have people who aren't. Up to you how you want to handle it. But if you put delete after notification, basically happens by default. Dash sends out an email with an attachment of the voicemail. So your users are going to already have it in their voicemail box or their email box. So then you can delete after notification, and it's not going their voicemail box will never get full. All right. Greetings. This is your greetings manager. So all the greetings you uploaded, you can check out here. You can re-download them so you can listen to them to make sure they're still valid. You can go here and change the name so it's something more recognizable, or if you know you're not going to need it anymore, you can just delete it. Recording type, TTS is text-to-speech. Upload, IVC, uploaded. Recording means you recorded over the phone. Call logs basically show your call activity. If you click on there's any on the month, there we go. Green arrow to the right means the call came into the system. The yellow arrow to the left means the call was going outbound. You can click on it and see a little bit more information about it. Again, since this is a test account, there's not going to be a lot of info. You can click here to report the call, like there's some kind of issue with it, and then you can send it as an email to support. You can also click on the little gear icon to get more detailed information about what's going on. Although typically speaking, for like on an inbound call here, what you would normally see is the users that it tried to reach and the specific device it tried to reach, and for how long. And as long as you see, typically speaking, you do want to see normal clearing on a call because that means it ended normally as far as the system is concerned. If you see something different, that means there's some kind of problem came up. All right, feature codes. These are basically dial pad shortcuts from a VoIP phone that you can enter. And these are also printed or available on the VirtualPBX.com website, so you don't have to log in to see them, and your staff can get to them by just going to the website. All right. So up here we have the three horizontal line, the icon menu or hamburger menu. So right now we are on the dashboard. Over here we have ACD queues. So there's ACD queues and there's ACD queues Pro. Pro is the upgraded version. So if you're already have an account with us and you have ACD queues and you want to upgrade to ACD queues Pro, you can do so, and you won't have to adjust any of your settings. It'll just import them over to you or for you. All right. So if you're making use of queues, all your staff will have this little option to get to queues. Now, I must have removed myself. Okay, so these are the queues. You can add a queue here. You have this is under ACD Pro actually. So you have performance, which is probably kind of, so it's basically see like how Bob is doing in a particular queue, and you can add a row to compare staff members. This is something only admins have access to. Right. Members, this is how you control your members. You can manage people. You click on someone and then you add them. So then they show up there. You go back to queues and you notice now I have this option to begin a session. It says, okay, I'm currently marked in away mode. This little phone icon here, this allows you to select which device you're going to use for queues. Now, for both ACD Queues and ACD Queues Pro, you can only make use of VoIP devices, right? So a soft phone, web phone, or a physical VoIP phone. Now this is a pull down, so you can just say ring them all, right? So ring any device I'm near, fine. Or no, I want to make sure this is my specific phone that I want to use. And then up here, I mark as ready. And now I'm ready to take calls that come into whichever queues I'm logged into. All right. Let's take a look at queues. And up here is the settings. So we'll go ahead and edit a queue. And this is going to be exactly how it looks like when you create a queue. So we start off here, basic info. All right, the name of the queue, the extension number or the phone number, right? A queue or ACD Queues Pro, you have one or the other, either just an extension number or just a phone number. All right. Call limit, how many calls that are limited in coming into the queue. If it's set at 0, you don't have a limit. 0 out to call full. Basically, I'm allowing, if you enable this, you're allowing the inbound caller to press 0, and then what are you sending them to? Typically, you can send a device, or in most cases, it would go to a voicemail box. Right? I don't want to wait on hold, just send it to a voicemail box. If I can get down, oh. Yeah. All right. Queue timeout, how much time a person can wait on hold. This one here, display agent status to other agents. So basically, I could see what my coworkers are doing. Like, are they on a call? They marked away, etc. Timeout immediately if empty. Basically, I enable this. Basically, if I have no agents logged in and a call comes in, just treat it as if they timed out immediately. And then record all calls in the queue. Escalation Cue basically means the agents in this queue weren't able to handle the call. Send the caller to this next queue. Obviously, that means you have to have an additional queue, which is going to increase your bill. And then if the timeout happens, what am I going to do? The queue pricing will, I know for ACD Queues Pro, I believe it starts at $99. ACD Queues, standard ACD Queues, it used to be $30 per queue. I believe they've lowered the pricing depending on the plan. So you want to double check your plan before adding queues. And that's per queue, right? So say it's $15 for queues. That means it's $15 per queue per month. So then you can click next at the bottom here. Routing strategy. This is basically telling you what they do, and you can select them all. So most idle, who's been waiting for a call the longest. Least calls handled means the least amount of connected calls, right? So Mary's talked to 5 people, Bob's talked to 2. Bob's getting the next call that comes in, right? Least offers made is just who's had the least amount of calls, period, right? How many times their phone is rung. And then round robin, just have equal distribution over time. Hold treatment. So on ACD Queues Pro, you can do many things. You can announce the wait. All right, you can play a media file. You can then announce the position, then the media file again, announce the wait, etc. Agent behavior. Agent connect timeout. This is how much time we're trying to reach the agent, so 20 seconds. You can click this. Force away on rejected or missed. Basically, if the agent misses a call, then the system will put them in away mode temporarily. If the agent, comes back to the desk and notices that they're in away mode, they can manually override that and put themselves back in ready. Otherwise, they will wait and then they'll be back in ready mode automatically. Down here, allow agent recovery time. You click enable, and then you can measure that in seconds. And then you can also allow recovery extensions, and again, that's measured in seconds. You can also choose to allow multiple extensions. And basically what that is after an agent is done with a call, it gives them time to write up a ticket or take a sip of water, what have you. Member assignment, this is the people you can put in the queue. Oops. So you just click on who you want, and then you move them over. And then review and confirm. And then we'll go ahead and cancel out of that. All right, blacklists. First and foremost, you would click Edit Blacklists. You either add one if you've never added one. In this case, I have several already made. You can change the name. Block anonymous means basically if we don't get valid caller ID, you can block it from get-go. Otherwise, you click on Add Number and then put +1 area code and phone number, and then you click Save. You go back to Settings, and then you click and drag it over into Selected, and then click Update. So now those phone numbers matching those conditions are blocked from getting to the account. So when they try to call in, they'll just get a busy tone. Faxes, as an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account. So that means you can check their faxes or their outbound faxes as well. And then email to fax logs basically will tell you if something went wrong. Normally, like they had a bad attachment or they may not have done the correct format or they used the wrong email address. Monitor, this allows you to see what your staff is doing. Right? Green means they're waiting for a call. Blue means they're on an inbound call. Red means they've marked themselves away. Gold is they're on recovery time, so from a queue. And then yellow means they're on an external call, usually meaning they're on an outbound call. User portal, this is something everyone has access to. So they can see their voicemails. Now, if they have delete after notification, they won't have anything here. They can see their call history. They can see their own faxes. Contact list, this is going to be everything in the account, right? So all the extensions for the ring groups, the users, the queues, etc. You can't add your own personal contacts to this list. The conference, this is where a user would control their conferencing. They can invite other users on the account to their conference. They can lock a conference. They can mute everybody. They can unmute. They can end the conference. When people are actually in, and for a participant, they can actually mute a particular participant or even kick a particular participant. Over here, you've got your conference room number, the moderator pin, as well as the participant pin, right? So if I'm moderating it, I would use this pin, but if I'm just going to be participating in it, I use this pin number. And then settings and devices. So this is where a user can enable their own call forwarding. They can put in the right number, etc., and then click Save. And they can also see their status of their devices. Voicemails, like fax boxes, as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account and see what's there. Reports is still in beta, I believe, so If you're interested in the advanced reporting, you'd want to contact our sales team. Basically, it's a little bit easier to read than the call logs. Webhooks is if you're making use of APIs to basically link Dash to other software. Call recording will take you to the AWS site to find your call recordings, and that integration into AWS is one of those advanced features. And that is everything. Sorry we ran a little bit long. We keep adding features, so it keeps adding to the length of this training. So I thank you for your time today. Hopefully it was informative. Feel free to check back with the channel if you need it for a refresher, or if you have other staff members you want to make admins, you can say, hey, go here, just watch it. It covers everything. If you go to dash.virtualpbx.com, you mouse over support and go to Dash support, you'll get to the actual individual guides for each of the features, which will have screenshots to take you through things step by step as well. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you are all